All right. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Unpack This. We're going to get live, we're going to unpack some stuff, and today we're going to be talking about a sacred beginning. That's right. It's 2026. Happy New Year to all of you. I'm Gloria Bailey Ray, your host, the authentic coach, and I'm so happy that you guys are here. As I said, we're going to be talking about some things today, and it is about starting not only just today, but this whole year with your sacred beginning of saying no. So I want to give a shout out to all of you who are tuned in, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I'm always happy that you're here. If you have comments, feel free to place it in the comment section. I will do my very best to get back to you or to acknowledge those comments. So they're definitely always welcome. But let's just get into it. We're going to talk about, as I said, um, we're talking about uh, the sacred beginning. Being able to just say no. Listen, there are moments in life when silence becomes sacred. Do I need to say that? We just have moments where I know for me, I've just reached this point, and when I just get quiet, we know, something about to pop off. You just need to just sometimes get quiet, right? And silence is sacred, not because there's anything wrong or something's happening, because everything has just finally in your mind been decided. So the real deal. I'm not here today to try and motivate you, but what I am here to do is to invite you into a sacred beginning, a beginning that does not require explanation. And how many of us feel like that we need to explain away certain things when in fact it's not even necessary, right? We need to understand. And my goal here as the authentic coach is, to help you to understand that when you've started a new beginning, you don't need approval from other people. And that's one of the things that happens a lot of times. We find ourselves seeking approval, but a beginning does not need approval. A beginning that begins the moment that you decide, I'm saying no, no more. And that's a powerful word, you guys. No. Two letters, but it packs a punch. And so you have to understand that when you make that decision that you're saying no more, that means no more negotiating your worth, no more shrinking to make others comfortable. And it's no more staying where your spirit has already asked you to leave. Some of us are hard headed. We get that gnawing in our belly. We know that something's not right, but guess what? We keep forging forward. So if your spirit has told you to get up and leave, get up from the table and leave. And sometimes not only do you get up from the table, you got to take the chair with you. All right? That's really important. And here's the real deal. While we're unpacking this, because guess what? It's not about anger, right? It really is not. This is about alignment. Saying no is not rejection. And some people take it as such, right? They become offended when you decide, I ain't doing that no more. That ain't me. That's not what I'm about, right? And so it's really important that when you say no, that it's not rejection. But what it is recognition. It's not punishment. But what it is protection. And if you really just stop and reflect on that, it is the moment you stop explaining yourself to people. And we're talking about people who benefit from you staying silent. Hmm. Many of us have been taught that being good means being agreeable, means that we're likable. We go along to get along. Listen, you guys, we're living in a day and age of where you got to take and own responsibility for your own stuff. That, I mean, that's the real deal, any way that you look at it. And so that's why on Unpack This, these are a lot of the things that I run across with some of my coaching clients. They can't say no. I feel obligated. I must say no. But you know what? When you say no, it is about you protecting you, yourself. And I'm going to tell you something. Newsflash, by you going along and being agreeable, honestly, does it really make a hill of beans to other people? Probably not. So that's why you got to regain who you are. You know, some of you walk around thinking that by being agreeable and dealing with the love that they're giving you, you're going to endure. Uh-uh. That loyalty, it meant self-abandonment. That's what happens when you give up who you are to become and to go along with other people. But here's the thing. A lot of us, well, I think that we all have wisdom. We're given that. Some of us, I think, more than others. Some are just more in tune than others. But you know what? Wisdom teaches us something different. And that wisdom was when the cost to staying becomes greater than the fear of leaving, change becomes sacred. Does that make sense, you guys? Do you feel, you know, what I'm saying? See, every single one of us, we sat at tables that we should have left sooner, long time ago. And by the way, when I talk about tables, it's a metaphor for, you know, the table of relationships. You stayed at it too long. The table of jobs. And if you can relate, you know, hey, give me a shout out. Uh, the table of friendships, the table of family dynamics. You stayed too long and you knew it was time to get up and go. And sometimes it takes something just exploding for you to decide no means no. I got to get up. I got to move. You know, many of you have been involved with commitments that have drained you more than what they have given you. You've stayed because you were hopeful. Wow. I can relate to that. That resonates very deep with me, right? Hopeful. For some of you, you may have stayed because you were just loyal. And what did that get you? Really? I mean, what really and truly did it get you? And then there's some of us that maybe you stayed because you didn't want to be misunderstood. Newsflash, even when you go or if you stay, you're still misunderstood. So you got to find a table where people will support you, will uplift you, will speak highly of you, even when you're not in the room, right? But I want to just tell you, staying at a table for a long period of time, your longevity at this table, it does not equal your obligation to remain there. Get up, get moving. That's why I wanted today's episode to be about, you know what? This is your sacred beginning. Saying no. Moving forward, not backwards. This is, for me, what's important is evaluating, where you are, where you've been, and then where you want to go. Because some of those tables, like I said, you've been there. And just because you've been there for a long time, it don't mean you need to stay there. But we do. And I don't know if we do, as I said early on, because it's out of fear, it's out of falling out of favor. It's that they're not going to like me anymore. Which, newsflash, some of them didn't like you anyway. They tolerated you. But these are the things that you and you alone control and can deal with, right? So you need to know that a lot of the tables that you've been at, they weren't meant to even be permanent. You just got locked and loaded into it. And I always say this: change is good, painful at times, but still good. And that's what we must get to, right? Understanding that those tables that you were at, they sometimes are just meant to be instruction. They're going to teach you what you will no longer tolerate. And I always say, what was the lesson in this that I needed to get? Think about that. Yeah, you tolerated some stuff, but, what were you supposed to learn? That is the key. Because guess what? These tables, they will reveal what you actually need. They're going to show you who you become when you stay too long. Stepping on somebody's toes. And here's the deal. And one of the clearest signs that it is time to say no more is when you find yourself over explaining. You over explain your boundaries. Why? You explain your fatigue. You explain your absence. You explain your growth. But I'm here to tell you, baby, people who respect you, they don't require footnotes. That's important for you to know. They don't require footnotes. See, when clarity is met with resistance, silence should become your next language. Saying no, saying no. I'm saying no more. It don't mean you bitter, but that's how some people will paint you. You need to be aware of that. But that's okay, right? You're not bitter, but it means that you are discerning. See, you can forgive someone and still decide they no longer have access to you. Do I need to say that again? Because forgiveness does not mean re-engagement. That old saying, if they've always done what they've always done, you're going to always get what you've always got from them. So just understand this. You can forgive somebody and make sure they still no longer have access to you. And this is what I'm about as the authentic coach, helping us unpack, some of the shit we deal with in life. And a lot of it is self-imposed. It's brought on by ourselves. Why? Because we're still trying to fit in where we don't belong. We're still trying to appease and please people. We've gotten so caught up that we've gotten lost in who we really and truly are, right? So if you really think about it, what forgiveness means, it is really and truly about you releasing the weight, not reopening the door. Keep the door shut. See, some people only knew that that version of you that you did not know yet or know better. We're constantly, or we should be constantly evolving. We should be learning who we are, what we're about. But just because that's who you were, it doesn't obligate you to remain there. And again, when you're changing, you're evolving, you're switching gears, right? There are some people that are gonna say things like, "Oh, she thinks she's something," or "He thinks he this," or who do they think they are? You can't worry about what folks say, y'all. You know what? Whatever they say is still, and I say, it doesn't obligate you to remain who you were. So, a sacred no, sacred no. It's not loud. It's, it doesn't argue. It doesn't even persuade. Because, see, a sacred no is calm. Oh, baby. That's the real deal. That's the sweet spot right there. A sacred no is just clear. Uh, Complete. No. No means no. And it doesn't come from fear. That's the other thing. It comes from knowing what drains you, knowing what dishonors you. And I'm certain if some of you really sit back and reflect on some of those conversations with some of your homies, you really start to, what do they mean by that? What is that? That sacred no, it comes from again, not only what dishonors you, but knowing what you are no longer willing to carry. I realize a lot of times, there's certain people say, "Oh, I know you can get a prayer through. I know you can, you know what?" But is that reciprocal? And this isn't tit for tat, but it's about you observing, you know, interactions, paying attention, and realizing as you're growing, maybe, just maybe, there are certain people, certain things in your life, it no longer fits for you, right? But when you know what you know, and you say, "I don't want to carry that no more," you know, your no isn't about being cruel. It's just simply about you having clarity. Whew. And there is just something about that word, being clear, just getting clear. Like I said, I think last week I talked about uh, you have to understand that we have to stop over explaining ourselves. We have to learn to just, I said no, I apologize. That's it. No second, third, fourth go at it, right? And here's the real deal. When you begin to honor the clarity that you've gotten, there is a shift. There's just a shift. You have this sense of peace about you. Your nervous system just calms down. You feel differently. You see things differently. Your voice is steady but solid. Your decisions on point. The peace that you've desired, it really and truly does come into focus. In fact, to me, it expands. And the thing is, you stop auditioning. You stop chasing. You stop performing. And the interesting thing is that you don't become colder, you just become clearer. We're unpacking, you guys, your sacred beginning, saying no. So just understand that this is not a ending. It really is not. It's a sacred beginning, a beginning where you decided that you're going to choose yourself, and you're going to do it without an apology. You know, um, and for those of you who are wondering, can I start that? Can I flip that script? Can I do something different? Of course you can. Of course you can. There's no doubt in my mind that you can. But when you have a new start, this new beginning, you know, what's going to happen is you're going to trust the wisdom, I guess it is, the wisdoms that you've earned. And you've earned it through the experiences and things that you've been through, right? So when you think about, I'm going to have a sacred beginning, and we're talking here on Unpack This, it's a beginning where silence speaks louder than explanations ever could. That's important. I really and truly hope that you're getting that. Because here's the thing, when you're silent, you don't need to announce your departure because people will recognize it. Of course, they're going to give it a different name. They think you may be angry about something, you pissed off about something, you didn't get your way about something. But sometimes you just need to friggin' stop and say no. That's it. End of story. And therefore, you didn't need to announce to anybody that, hey, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. You just get silent. You get really clear. And you understand. You know, a lot of times we refuse to give the same energy to people that they're giving to us. And what do I mean by that? You're the one doing all the calling, you're the one doing all the checking, but you let a month go by, 30 days, 60 days, and no one's called you to say, whoa, what's happened? I ain't heard from you, I haven't talked to you. The thing is I believe God always gives us the answers and things that we need. We just ignore them. He gives us the signs. We see it. We ignore them, right? And so when you decide that you're just going to make a clean break, when you decide that in my spirit, I know that I needed to say no. I know that I need to move on. I know I got to get up from the table because there's something about when you do that, it just, I mean, it's just like like I said, a wave of this calmness that comes over you. So for those of you that are seeking permission to be able to leave that table that you've been at for way too long, I'm just here to tell you, get up from the table. You don't owe anybody anything. You don't owe no explanation. You don't, nothing. People outgrow people. I mean, that's just how it is. Has nothing to do with you or them being angry or whatever. That's it. And if you feel that there has been some egregious uh, thing done to you, you do that apology and leave it and keep it moving. You got to let them do them, but you also got to let you do you, right? So no need for no, hey, departures. No, I need your input on this, because guess what? You're a grown ass adult. You don't need permission from anybody. You really and truly don't. You don't need validation. You only need the courage. You hear me when I say this, the courage to tell yourself the truth. And the truth is, I'm saying no more. No more. It's all about you. Some people will make you think it's selfish. I grew up where you give and give and you do and you do. And guess what? They keep coming back. I need this, I need that. But how many really seek to really understand you? We're all complicated individuals, every single one of us. But does that mean that we can't support? We can't uplift? We can't speak of an individual without a negative, right? And it's one of those things. Allow the individual that's asking something about you to get to know you. If your narrative about someone is always negative or saying what you heard or what you thought, I'm just telling you, just saying no more. Protect yourself. Tell the truth. And again, like I said, you'll never change everyone's mind about you. But what's important is what you know, what's inside of you. And so learn to say no. You're protecting your sacred beginning. And you should have a lot more no's this year than you did with yes, I'm willing, I'm going to. Be super protective of your time. Be super protective of who you give your time to. Be super protective of volunteering to do different things. That's important. What I am hoping, and I'll say this um, to those of you today, may your nose protect your yes. Some of you need to think about that for a minute. May your nose protect your yes. May your boundaries birth peace. And today, here on Unpack This, may this moment right here, right now, mark the beginning, in my opinion, of a life that's lived in truth. It really and truly is up to each and every one of you what you decide to do. I am always about us being our true, authentic selves. That's important because when you show up as somebody else, people can't handle that. But if you're always authentic in everything that you do, who you are, what you're about, is so important. And I say to each and every one of you, ladies and gentlemen, that are here today, I really hope and pray that today's show resonated with you. If it did, hey, share and tell someone. Be sure to like and follow me. Go to my website. We got a lot of exciting things that are going on. And I really pray that this time next week, same time, same station, guess what? I'll be here. And we're going to talk about next week setting expectations. So, I guess in a way, as the authentic coach, giving you some free coaching um, I'm going to say nibbits, right? Nuggets, right? But I'm so glad that you joined me, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Until then, be safe, God bless. Take care.